All right, so here's what I got. Vaughn, obviously, and Tyler still on PUP. And then players that will not practice. Ed Oliver, he's got a back soreness. Isaiah Coulter with still nursing through that knee. And then Cam Lewis with his groin from a little bit of the fall yesterday. And then Reggie with a groin as well, Reggie Gilliam. So with that, I'll turn it over to you with your questions.
So with Cam, no head or anything like that?
No.
Is Phillips was mostly just conditioning yesterday. Is he going to be more of a participant today?
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll continue to ramp him up based on how he's feeling this morning. I don't quite know where that is yet, but I expect him to be at least what he did yesterday.
Hey, can you speak a little bit about, I know the D-line competition is pretty hot and heavy, but Epinesa had a really nice night Friday, it looked like, from the guy. Can you kind of talk about his progression this season? It looks like he's really kind of come back ready to go.
Yeah, he's dialed in, and he's a pivotal piece to our success this year. His development. You could tell in the spring he had put a lot of work in terms of in the weight room prior to coming back to Buffalo in the spring for the OTA period, and he looks like he's in a good spot and continues to grow every practice.
That's an area that
Ryan Bates has gone from right guard to center within the same practice. How unique is that for him to be able to handle that mental load of that?
Yeah, I mean, the position flex that he has, and we saw that when he got here, when we got him from Philadelphia years ago. I think it was his rookie year. He played different positions, played some center, he played some guard. I think even in the first game, in the Titans game that year, I remember him playing tackle maybe as well, if I'm accurate on that. But his position flex is of great value to us.
Getting back to the pass rush there, I mean, that's an area where we've talked about you want more out of.
Yep.
You've done a lot to create a lot of competition. Can you speak to maybe how intense that competition is, and is it meeting your expectations, at least at this point in training camp?
Yeah, I mean, I think just overall, our whole team, we've got a lot of work to do yet, and no different in that position. There's been flashes of it, whether it be from an individual player or the group overall, but that has to continue to develop. Pivotal pieces, AJ being one of them, and then some of the other players, play a part in that also in their development. So there's pivotal pieces on our roster that need to step up in order for us to have a good season, and that's some of the work that's got to get put in.
We talked a lot about adding Dalton Kincaid and kind of what he's bringing, but I was curious from a defensive coordinator perspective, what is having two tight ends and kind of not knowing where they're going to line up, what does that add from your, a defensive coordinator perspective? How does that make things harder?
I think, again, just when you have a rookie player, he's going to go through some growing pains, and Coach Dorsey and the offensive staff are going to continue to figure out the strengths of, in this case, Dalton, like all of our players, and then put them in positions of strength. And you try and manage some of the weaknesses as well. And Dalton's a skilled player, but at the same time, he's still a young player. So there's still a lot of work to be done.
How much do you feel Jordan Phillips' time missed because of the injury maybe has him trying to play catch-up at this point in training camp?
I mean, anytime you miss a couple of days or even one day, I mean, from a competitor standpoint, when you're not out there, you feel that, and then when you miss multiple days or now weeks, going even back to the spring, there's some catch-up work that's got to be put in, and Jordan will do that. He's been out there paying attention. He's been out there getting the mental reps in terms of what he can control through the PUP, and then now that that's taken off, getting him back integrated into what we're doing. The walkthroughs are very productive or beneficial for him, because the walkthroughs allow now him to participate and get the mental reps where he couldn't get those mental reps prior to that.
Now that we're a couple weeks into camp, what's it been like for you to wear both hats, be kind of behind the offense watching, then be on the sidelines? What's that been like for you?
Yeah, it's been interesting trying to find just where I need to be at the right time, and then just being self-aware, I think, is important enough to know that, okay, I haven't spent time here in some time, so I need to get around, say, the offense a little bit or special teams. It's just hard to leave even the follow-up film meeting with the defense because of the details that we need to have. It's important that I do spend the time outside of the defense with, said pieces of our offense or special teams as well.
Hey, Sean,
delegating that, is that something where you'll say, I need to give this piece to this defensive assistant, this piece to this defensive assistant, or will one defensive assistant shoulder most of that by himself?
Yeah, probably a little bit of both in terms of, overall, got a very strong staff defensively, but it's more putting things in place for when I'm not around that I can still have the level of communication. So, for example, if I go sit in with the offense to watch practice after this practice this morning, I'm not hearing the communication of what went well, what didn't go well, play by play through the course of the film with the defensive staff. So just, making sure that when I watch it through a defensive lens, then that they saw it like I saw it in terms of what needs to improve.
Hey, Sean, I know backup quarterbacks are kind of up against it with reps and all that, but have you been satisfied with how Kyle and Matt have looked, or it seems like it's been a little bit rough at times? Again, understanding that that's often the case. But
yeah, well, we have confidence in both of those guys. That said, doing it in a game, doing it in live situations, learning our offense for Kyle in particular is new. It's a new offense that he's now in, and that takes some time. So getting him as many reps as we possibly can is important, and I think he's done some good things, and there's some things that I'm sure he's working on, and as well as Matt.
Sean, what do you make of Khalil's camp so far? Just having a year under his belt and now in his second camp with you guys.
Yeah, the thing I love about Khalil is he's so consistent, and he's consistent from a personality standpoint. He's consistent from a performance standpoint. And you saw him the other night in the stadium where I think a lot of people forgot about him, and then he shows up. And I think that's a result of his consistency in terms of his preparation, both physically and mentally, and the standard he holds himself to on a daily basis.
Sean, you talk about the mental reps. You go through what happened last season. Stephon said it a few weeks ago. This team went through a traumatic experience with the rest of the players. Then you have the new guys getting ready for week one. What are you guys doing to get the guys ready mentally to prove?
Well, in fact, we talked this morning about training the mental part of the performer, right? So that you can get to a place of elite performance, and that takes time. That takes work mentally, and the mental part of the equation in terms of the training that it takes is we don't take that lightly, and I think that's a big part of it is you've got to be in a good spot mentally, and that doesn't happen the week of the Jets game. That happens weeks before, and so we encourage all of our players to subscribe to that approach as well.
Hey, Sean, at the nickel spot, what makes Johnson such a good fit for what you have been doing and what you will be doing?
Well, first and foremost, he has a good feel for what we're trying to get done, but he's also, he's a dog. He's physical, he's tough. Even though he's not maybe the biggest guy, he's very physical. And so I think that's probably the biggest two areas that, in terms of why I love him, is he understands what we're trying to get done. He works well with those other guys back there, and then he's tough as nails.
A couple looks at Terrell with the first team over the first 10 days. What have you seen from him, and where have you seen him kind of grow now going into his second year?
Yeah, I love his instincts. His command of our defense continues to grow. again, just in his second season now, and really, he played both positions last year, but his playing time, when he did get playing time on defense, was more outside. Really, most of his playing time was on special teams. So this is all new to him in a way, although he probably went through a similar journey in college before he became the starter. But he gets better every day. He makes mistakes. We all make mistakes, but he just loves to learn and grow, and you can see that in his approach on a daily basis.
Sean, I know the details of like who's going to play in preseason will be sorted out, but with only one cut down day this year, does that kind of have you even now going into week one thinking about the bigger picture of how you want to structure everything?
Well, we try and look at that honestly, Sal, in the off season as we plan training camp and the schedule, and at least a vision then as to what we want training camp to be in all those different areas that you mentioned. But then now we're in a position that where we take it one day at a time, because we've got to continue to zig and zag at times, and just go by the cadence of the team and where the team's at and what they need in order to get us to the right spot come week one.
Sean, you talk about the instincts like Terrell has. Does it take being comfortable for those instincts to come out? Meaning it's innately in the guy, he has those instincts, but until you know what you're doing, they can't come out. And do you see a progression in that he's playing freer in that?
Yeah, that's key, right? And we've all played sports. Most of you guys played sports, and when you go from junior high to high school, there's a transition time that takes place of, hey, until you can now get comfortable enough to play free again, then you go from high school to college in the same way, and it's new and it's faster than what what you've been used to, and then that takes some time to where you can finally get to be your true self. And so then you go for these guys from college to the NFL, and now in his second year and somewhat of a newish, not totally new, but newer position, especially when you're out there with the ones. But that's what we continue to encourage is, hey, train them up the right way, but all the while allow them to play free, and knowing that if they make a mistake, just do it full speed, and we'll work through it together. Now you make 2 or 3 of the same mistakes, then we're going to have a pretty long conversation there. But having said that, it is important that we have an environment around them that they know they can play free, and especially in games, preseason games, what have you. That's what practice is for, and if you have the right environment, that allows players to do that.
You had talked about kind of ramping up toward the first preseason game. This was a used Friday night, for that. What does this week look like? As you put together these practices or whatever, heading toward the weekend, what can people expect to see maybe as you push toward that first week?
In terms of
just whatever. I mean, it's open-ended for you.
Yeah.
How do you ramp them up?
You want to see the full game plan?
Yeah,
So you see. Hang on.
Is there one for preseason game? No, sure.
No, I mean, really, we're going to go out there and we won't spend a lot of time, honestly, on the Indianapolis Colts, with all due respect. It's important, we have felt over the years, to focus on ourselves and our development. And, again, having the right players out there at the right amount of time, or with the right amount of time and the right dosages of, hey, who do we want to see and how much do we want to see them? I think that's important, that we manage that the right way. Having something as simple as 11 people on the field when you've got 90 guys on the sideline, and there's players in and out of the lineup at different points in time. Special teams gets involved in that mix. So some of that is even, believe it or not, a challenge, and a real pet peeve of mine when we don't have 11 people on the field. And you've seen that, honestly, in practice at times, and that doesn't sit well with me. So,
Okay.
Good? Thank you.